Are there any friends out there?
Friends, I hope you're here. Now.
Hi,
Oh,
Anita.
hi! Look at everybody's here. Yippee! I found you. I'm so glad that you found us. Okay, so we're now 11 minutes into it. We had a very cute thing. Should we fast forward?
Wait. Confirm. Somebody respond.
Yeah, no, they are responding.
No, they say okay. What's 2 + 2?
They're here. They're here. All these beautiful people. They're here. All of our friends. Heather, Debbie. Oh, Cam. Oh, Sylvia. Oh, Carrot. Okay, it's really good to see you. And I'm switching over to Anita Daher books, and nobody's there, but that's okay. It's working. I can see it's working. And somewhere, yes, we've got YouTube Live going here too. So most of our folks are over here on my personal profile page. So this is where I'm going to stick for now. Okay, so we did a really cute thing when we started here. We were off screen.
Off screen, it would come on screen.
Like, is anybody here? Okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
No, and we said that I made cookies, but he ate them all.
I ate all her cookies.
And then I said that we had appetizers anyway, and we've got this magical elixir that's going to happen afterwards.
Windshield washer fluid. Okay.
But you can email me later for the recipe. So hello, welcome to my launch, and thank you to the National Arts Center in Ottawa for making this launch possible. The launch is for You Don't Have to Die in the End, my brand new novel published by Great Plains Publications. Thank you also to the sponsors that came on board, which are Facebook, Slate Music, the RBC Foundation, Sirius XM Canada, and thank you also to Darcy Fair and his daughter Caitlin, who were going to do this lovely filmed portion. I was going to adapt a chapter, but
they wanted too much money.
I couldn't figure out the technology. Clearly, it's been a real learning curve for a bunch of us, all these new things that we're trying. Okay, so today, how things are going to go, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. Very briefly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what this book is about. I'm going to read 11 very short readings, which I don't usually do.
Maybe 9. Got to condense some time here.
If we need some time, because this is a half-hour program. I'm going to do some short readings, and then we're going to, if you have any questions, I'm going to answer your questions. And thank you so much for joining me today and making this a celebration. Okay, so first about me. My name's Anita Daher. I'm an author in Canada. I write primarily middle grade and teen novels. I also dabble in too many other things that are creative, but it keeps me busy and happy. What are you nodding your head for? And this is my dear husband, James Daher, and I'm so glad he's here with me today. You might recognize him from such YouTube classics as Tour of My Desk and Cooking with the Bickersons. Soon we'll be filming Tour of My Bookshelf.
Credenza.
Right, and maybe of my backyard. But anyway, so glad he's here. My little chat box keeps popping up there, so I want to keep closing it. All right, so about me. Ordinarily, the amazing Mr. John Taves, the voice of McNally Robinson, would be introducing me. And so thank you, John. Even though you're not here to do this, you're here in spirit. Thank you, McNally Robinson, who's carrying my book. They managed to get it before everything shut down. So if you're looking for a book, you can order it from McNally Robinson. That would probably be the first place. Yes, book author in Canada. This is book number 15 or thereabouts. I've lived all over Canada. Residing now in Winnipeg. This is our home. I think that, is there anything else about me?
You got a nice red dress?
I have a nice red dress. I thought I'd dress up for the occasion. Thank you so much. And you have a very nice Hank Williams t-shirt.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe let's get to it. Oh, about the book. You Don't Have to Die in the End was inspired by a program, a documentary that I saw about wild Mustangs, about these convicts in the U.S. that worked with wild Mustangs. I mean, good for the horses. And so I started imagining a story. Okay, I'm going to fast forward here because we don't have a lot of time. This story is about a 16-year-old girl who has a tragic past. When she was 8 years old, her father committed suicide, and it pretty much blew their family apart and started her on a road of making maybe not the best choices. And so when we meet her, she's already well down this road. And before long, she's in trouble. She's in front of a judge, and she's given an option. She could be incarcerated. I mean, that's what she's up for. But instead, they offer her a chance to participate in this intensive support and supervision program, which is a real program offered by Canada's Youth Criminal Justice Act. My program is made up. There's many people I thank at the end of this story. I won't have time to thank everybody today, but I filmed one earlier that thanked everybody. Okay, should we get right to it? Let's get right to it, because
this is your rodeo.
Yeah, because we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go. When I drank, memories flattened and smoothed into river stones, skipped to surface shiny as a spoon. TV ads that said it was like looking through a drinking glass were meant to scare you straight, keep you from driving. But I wasn't the one at the wheel. If I were, I wouldn't be following some drunk on the street. Luda pounded my shoulder. Earth to Eugenia, they said. You gotta watch. Tell me if anyone's coming. I could see well enough, but my mouth hurt and I didn't feel like answering. When we stopped by the tracks to share a Mickey of Jaeger, they smacked at my shoulder, but missed and hit my jaw. Called me a wuss because I wouldn't keep drinking. Punch didn't mean nothing. It was just how they communicated. Luda taught me to punch first and ask questions later. Not a bad policy in this town. Fort St. Luke was not for the delicate. It was also not for the stupid. We'd been bored and looking for trouble when this cowboy stumbled out of the Roundup Roadhouse on Main. Luda said we'd follow just for grins, freak him out a little. With man-high ridges on either side, the guy had nowhere to go but forward. So much snow. Not unusual for December in this back-ass northern town, but there were days you wished you were anywhere else but here. Mountains to the west, dry lands to the east. This was supposed to be a ranching sweet spot. Felt like being stuck. When you couldn't go anywhere, you looked for diversion. Next segment. Glad you're enjoying yourself, baby. There it was, the nod. Luda signaled that I should join them. Girly girl in the pool hall had given Luda attitude, some clammed up bougie girl, hair in her eyes, putting on sass for the sake of her friends. All badass for cutting school on a Friday afternoon. Amateur. Took our table like she didn't know we were using it, shoved Luda and made like she'd accidentally fallen into them, like it was some big joke. Then she took her finger, ran it soft down the side of Luda's face. I expected them to shove the little bun, tell her where to go, but they just stood there, frozen, mouth open. I don't even think they were breathing. Then Glam Girl laughed all cruel-like and said, "Don't you wish," and spit in their face. Her friends called her Justine, just in time to get a beating. The Luda I knew should have come out, but their face was stone, the spittle shining in fluorescent light. Then they smiled like they knew something, and I got goosebumps down to my toes. They spun and walked out, signaled for me to follow, then keyed a giant F.U. on the hood of the only other car in the lot. Had to be Justine's or one of her friends, same difference. Then we waited. Tick, tock. Justine and friends buffaloed down the back stairs, saw me and Luda waiting on them. They had to know they were screwed. Luda was big and I didn't give up. Go ahead, my little pony, Luda mocked. You got us 2-1. No fear on Girly Girl's porcelain face, but safe bet her plumbing was about to get active. I got no argument with you. No? Luda stepped aside so she could see the hood. Justine's face was deadpan. Geez, that's too bad. She and her friends shuffled sideways along the limestone. Collectively, they looked like a poof-haired crab skittering into the heat of this intolerable day. I looked a question at Luda, ready to fight, but they only frowned and said, What the hell did you do to my new car? Came a roar from behind, and I realized it wasn't Luda and me that those girls had skittered away from. It was the great Kazoo. Chris Kaczynski was an abomination of nature, a giant from the moment he was sprung from the womb. Now in his early 20s, he was big like Bigfoot, with meaty slabs for fists you'd want to see the wrong side of. He was also quiet, always had been. He worked at the library, which meant even his job was hushed. He wasn't quiet now. I'm gonna kill you! Kaz grabbed me with those hands, and I watched the world tip sideways, then erupt into white agony as he bowled me across the gravel lot. Holy crap! Pain like hot Hades. About 15 feet from where I'd begun, I groaned and pushed myself upright. Kaz had Luda off the ground, held by their shirt collar against the bricks of the building. Their knees were bent toward their gut while hands flapped and mouth gaped like they'd just been punched. Hard. They were pale as limestone behind their head, as if all the blood in their face had dropped to fill the hole in their stomach. Kaz shifted, spat out a surprised, "You're a girl!" A whistling sound took the place of whatever Luda tried to say back. I don't remember getting up, never mind walking or stumbling, but somehow I was behind Kaz, unsure what I might do other than tap him on the shoulder. Okay, there was one thing. I readied to accept the consequence of my idiocy, lifted a shaky leg, and kicked the back of his knees. Next. So what do you want me to say? You admit what you've done and that you know you were wrong. If you plead guilty, there may be another option for you. What kind? There's a program called Intensive Support and Supervision, an alternative sentencing, a condition for probation. It would allow you to attend classes, receive treatment, and gain work skills in a more open environment than a juvenile incarceration facility. Sounds like bullshit. It's not. How come I haven't heard of it? It's only considered in certain cases. Usually if there are mental health issues or other extenuating circumstances. No, you are guilty, Eugenia. Not like you mean. I'm not nuts and I'm not sorry. She had it coming. The girl is in hospital. Sour taste rose in the back of my throat. I barely hit her, except I knew that wasn't true. Something had happened, something I could hardly recall. It was like I'd been outside of my body for part of it. Whatever it was, it scared me. But that was nobody's business but mine. I itched to touch my bruised knuckles, press into them. I wouldn't give Boyer that satisfaction, not with the way he looked at me, triumph already bleeding through. No. Boyer looked at me a moment longer, then closed my file. Let's go then.
Are we done the next one?
Next one.
This one, the gunplay?
No. This one, she's getting the rules of the program. You gonna put animals in there? Soon enough, Mary said, climbing into a tall chair at the kitchen island, chin nodding for me to do the same. She wiped her hands and offered me one to shake. Mary Franz, she said, house mother and educational supervisor. She nodded toward Heather. Heather Gobbett is our psychologist. She'll be meeting with you for individual as well as group sessions. Wait, what? Her eyes were laughing, though she kept a straight face. We don't just bake scones, you know. Everybody does double duty. Sometimes triple, Heather added. Sometimes more than that. Pleased to meet you, I stammered. Mary opened the folder, tapped at the top of the list. Flowers scattered about the page. Rule 1, drink or drugs and you're out, obviously. Another tap, fighting or threats and you're out. Okay. Smoking only in designated smoking sheds. Don't smoke. Tap. No gambling. Tap. Be respectful. Tap. No use of firearms, hunting knives, or anything that might be used as a weapon without supervision. Tap. Staff may search your bunk at any time. Anything else? Lights out, 10 p.m., rise and shine by 6. That hurts. Mary grinned. You'll get used to it. I took the sheet and read a few additional notes about listening to staff and doing as I was told, plus guidelines for visitors and phone calls, all with the dire punctuation of, do it or you're out. Next.
You're making a mess.
I know I'm making a mess. The work was easier my second morning. After breakfast, we separated the geldings from the mares, babies and studs, and herded them into a separate field. Afterward, Frankie, Nathan, and I were left to clean the pens while brothers Rick and Jimmy went off with Hayden to weed a garden. I don't much mind the smell of horse crap, Nathan said, shoveling. Hell, I drawled. Frankie smirked. I mean, don't get me wrong, crap is crap. I'm not saying that cleaning pens is my preferred chore around here, but compared to other kinds, horse crap is a pile of roses. Or clover, I said. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's all natural, right? Not like pig crap or cow crap or human crap, Frankie added. Yeah, that'd be worse. It's all about the feed. The more bad stuff you put in, the worse it comes out. Hang on, I leaned on my shovel. Are you calling Mary and Heather's cooking bad? Oh, sweet Jesus, no. But animals that stick to grasses and the like are a joy to shovel up after. A joy, I deadpanned. Really? Nathan raised his brows at me. Oh, I get it. You're hacking on me. He looked back and forth between me and Frankie. The both of you. Clearly, we've not spent as much time as you have contemplating crap, Frankie teased. Maybe you should. You don't want to think about what you must be feeding those cows and pigs to get the stink that comes out the other end. It's not natural, that's for sure. Neither is this conversation, Frankie said. Unable to hold back any longer, Frankie and I doubled over, laughing. You're quite the educated fella, Nathan, I said, removing my glove to wipe away my tears. He gave me a funny look, then glanced at Frankie, who stopped laughing and coughed. I say something wrong? Nathan grinned, slow and wide. Nah, he said, and turned back to his shoveling. That was weird. Any awkwardness was soon wiped away by Nathan's continued chatter, which had now turned to dung beetles and fire ants. You ever get bit by one of those, Jeannie? Only my family called me Jeannie. But before I could sort my feelings out about that, he was into his story. This guy up here a few years back, 2 years maybe, longer than that. It was before you and I got here, Frankie said. 5 years maybe. The way Tammy tells it, there was this guy who really loved eating, never stopped, even though he was skinny as a zipper. Turn sideways, stick out his tongue, I said. And he looks like a zipper. Yeah, you heard that one, Jeannie? I guess. It was a good moment. Nathan's sunny nature lightened the air, and Frankie sweetened it. They were nice to be around, even while shoveling shit. Anyway, the way Tammy tells it, he wasn't the brightest bugger and on the lazy side. A slider? You've been talking to Tammy. She calls us all that at first. Not me, Frankie said. Aren't you special then? Anyhow, this guy, not a slider neither. Well, maybe. Anyway, he was eating peanut butter and honey sandwiches, and because he'd get all in a panic if he didn't have snacks with him at all times, he had another one in his pocket. The way Tammy tells it, he was lipping off about taking a break and sat himself down on top of a hill, not realizing he was sat down on a nest or whatever. Tammy kept trying to tell him, and this guy kept lipping off and until Tammy finally said, well, you know, Tammy, that we do, Frankie said. And Tammy said whatever, except not in those words, and went back to work. It wasn't 30 seconds later before the guy was screeching like 3 crows on a bagel and heading for the hills. Those ants crawled all up the inside of his legs and got at the honey, which had leached through the wrapper and into his pants. Frankie grinned. So the moral of the story is don't talk shit to Tammy, I said. Next.
Oh boy.
You'll like this one. You like them all, don't you, baby?
I sure do, honey.
4 hours past sunrise, mist clung to the valley as if reluctant to leave. Once the cloud overhead moved on, it would burn off, but for now it gave the feeling of being somewhere other, far away from a damaged world. The air was soft, my companions silent, and horses waited calm in the pens, thanks to Rick and Jimmy. They're good boys, Noah had said to me at breakfast, as Rick and Jimmy played a game that involved exchanging punches to the jaw with escalating force. Each punch was followed by loud guffaws. Not too complicated and hard workers. You stop that before you brain damage each other, Mary scolded and sent them to scrape their plates. I was pretty sure any damage had long since been done. All right, next part. Okay, you've got 5 minutes, Slider. Tammy's mood hadn't improved since her return from cricket camp. It was a good bet she'd wolfed down her breakfast extra fast just to make me look slow. Name's Eugenia, I growled, setting my coffee mug beside my plate. Try it out. Tammy narrowed her eyes. Until I tell you otherwise, your name is Dirt. If Noah or any of the others took issue with the way she spoke to me, I couldn't tell. I clamped my mouth shut, scraped what was left of my breakfast into the trash, and followed Tammy outside. At the shed, she motioned for me to pick up a shovel, then led me beyond the bunkhouses to a flat space cleared of... What? My own grave? We need a new outdoor crapper, and since you're such a shit, I figured you're well suited. Dig a hole 3 feet deep, 2 feet square. When you're done, we'll move the box from the old hole to the new one. There are 2 bathrooms inside the lodge. Why do we need an outhouse? The fires of hell gathered beneath Tammy's skin. Fine, I said, no problem. It was like she wanted me to take a swing at it, was pushing for it. Tempting, but I had no intention of getting booted. I would hold tight to days like yesterday, hanging out with Nathan and Frankie, a break from my miserable life. With a final hour, she left me to my task. I imagined clocking her a good one, took the daydream a step further and saw her face shatter into a million pieces like it was made of glass. Fueled by anger, I placed boot on shovel and pushed. Time turned irrelevant, each moment marked with a satisfying stab and heave. I didn't notice Tammy's return until she opened her stinking pie hole of a mouth. Where'd you learn to use a shovel? She snarled. A 2-year-old knows how to put her back into it. What kind of soft life you been living? I felt the heat rise up on my neck, but kept digging. Not soft. Tammy walked away, cursing under her breath. She knew nothing about me. No one did, not the truth of me. What I told Nathan and Frankie didn't even scratch the edge of it. Dark thoughts lodged deep, simmered and stewed. Finally, the hole dug. I set the shovel aside, pulled myself out, and fell back against the freshly piled soil. Think you're finished? Mid-morning sun radiated from behind Tammy's hat and made her appear faceless. Her words came from nothingness. Painfully, I stood, brushed myself off. Yes, I think you miscalculated. 2 feet wide, 3 feet deep. That's what you said. Keep digging. I muttered into my shirt collar. and that ravens pick out your eyeballs. Tammy pushed her face close to mine. What was that, Slider? Mouth clamped. I took a step back. Okay, that's enough for that part.
That was scary.
That was scary. Good. Yeah. Maybe she will, right? The humidity wasn't as oppressive as it had been before the storm. Oh, you got to do a jig, so people know it's a separate part.
What the who?
A jig. He's got to do a jig, so you know you're jumping ahead, right? Okay, we're jumping ahead. The humidity wasn't as oppressive as it had been before the storm. The wood smelled green and cool. It was also bugger wet, and I slipped in the mud twice before I found my feet. Behind the piney boughs, I heard a nicker. At least I thought I did. It could have been a squirrel or a bird or most anything. It hadn't been that loud. In search of the source, I crab walked up a slope not far off the trail. Definitely a nicker. There he was, in a clearing at the base of the slope, ears pointed my way, grazing with his buddies. At least they'd stuck together, plus they'd been joined by one more. One of the missing horses? Found them, I called out. Then mumbled, stupid buggers, as I contemplated the slick and muddy slope before me. One careful step, then another. I angled my body sideways, placed my boot heels on jutting stones, crushed pungent clumps of yarrow. Hup, nope, I cried out as I twisted and slid on my ass all the way to the bottom. Great. I wiped muddy palms on now filthy jeans and reached for my hat. Movement made me shift my head. My blood turned ice. It was a mountain lion. A mother beeping cougar, not 3 feet from where I sat.
It doesn't say beeping.
Vulnerable. She stared at me, yellow eyes rimmed thick and with black, like the coal you see on one of those hieroglyphs of Egyptian princes and princesses. Her tawny fur with its darker shadings down the side of her nose and around the snow-white kiss of her mouth and chin gave the impression of a skull. Her bunched muscles screamed power and my imminent demise. She looked pissed. Okay, jumping ahead. Jig.
Should have brought a gun.
Jig. Okay, here we are.
You get what you pay for.
You're the best, baby.
Yeah.
Olie flicked a radio switch. Base, this is Captain America. You there? While Olie called the ranch. I just stopped and looked at the time. While Olie called the ranch, Noah explained how things would go. We would meet with Boyer and talk things through. After that, we'd get back up in front of the judge as soon as Boyer could arrange a hearing. I'm pulling for you, Eugenia. I really am. But we can't have you breaking the rules and getting away with it. I can't let you slide on this, even if I wanted to. How would that look? What if we get shut down? Where would that leave Frankie and the others? I wanted to tell him again that it wasn't me, so I kept my mouth shut. No one's answering, boss, Olie said. Don't worry about it. We'll call from the ground. My stomach swirled with the motion of Olie tilting the aircraft to bring it around, lined it up with the runway. A woman's voice on the radio told him he was cleared to land. A gentle thud indicated the opening of the landing gear doors, and I readied for the bump on landing. Flying wasn't bad, but I preferred the in-air part to landing and takeoff. A horn blasted. Olie shouted something in Norwegian. Panic exploded from the center of my stomach. What happened? Landing gear didn't lock, Olie said. And I'm going to cut that off really there to skip ahead because we're running out of time. I leaned back against the dumpster behind the Inky Mart, laughed. What was it that Heather had said? I was always exactly where I was meant to be. I pulled a long neck from the case beside me. Luda's voice rang out in my head. That's what I'm talking about. I clinked bills with their ghost. They'd known Justine 5 minutes, and just like that, love, my best friend forever, not so forever. 5 damn minutes, and I'd been replaced. How? That's what I wanted to know. I needed to kill that something inside me that was hard and hurting, or fuzz it up a little. I needed to not care, not feel. I tipped the bottle, drank down half in one swallow, and then another swallow and another. That's what I'm talking about. After the first bottle, the second. I finished 4 before I had to pee, giggled out loud, remembered the story Darcy told about the bucket. And then I was sad again, but still sober enough to use the can at Jumbo Joe's hot dogs next to the Inky Mart. Back outside, I leaned into painted concrete, willed the wall to straighten my frame enough so I could move on. The sun heat against my cheeks soothed almost as much as the beer. So I stayed that way until a woman walked by, handed me $5, which made me laugh, which made it hard to stay upright. It was like the building moved and moved again every time I tried to find it. Jump ahead. Very short. And this is my favorite bit. I got to share with you my favorite bit in this whole book. This world was full of empty spaces where grief steps in, haunts shadows, hides from light and lessons learned. Regret in darkness grows in sorrow. I am salt with tears unshed, a pillar to shatter in wind. Why can't I see the wind?
Is that a haiku?
And now the last little bit that I'm going to read. Actually, maybe not. Maybe I'll just leave it at my favorite bit there, because that was a part that I wrote when I was in Iceland last year. All right, well, let's just take a look at and see if there's any questions, folks, because we are coming really close to the end of this.
My brother Kevin says hello.
Oh, very nice. Hey, Joe, I'm glad you're enjoying the read. Thank you, Bridget. Congratulations. Thanks. Congratulations from Jocelyn. Terry sent a picture of a mother beeping cougar and some horses and some music. And lots of conversation from Ricky. Okay, I don't know if there's any questions, but oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you guys all here. I'm gonna go through and look at that light. Isn't that light awesome? I didn't set that up very well. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna look through everything you've said. I'm gonna look through it all afterwards. And oh yeah, and there's Ariel saying, "Holy crap!" Hi Ariel. And a few people found me on my Anita Daher book page, so I'm really glad to see you. And now let's check over to the YouTube page to see if anybody found me there. And oh my goodness, there's all kinds of things there. Okay, you are here. Yes, I am. Hello, everybody. Does anybody have any questions about the book? I already PewDiePie. Thank you, David. Hi, sis and bro. Hi, Kevin. Okay, it's really great to see you guys. Do you take requests? Okay, that'll work. Okay, no, the man says no. This has been, how do you get a signed copy? Andrew, you're in luck. I happen to know someone who knows the author. We can get you a signed copy. Say hi in the chat, everyone. Yeah, I see you. I see you all. Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any actual questions about the story, but that's okay, because you all know me and you know that I'm happy to talk about this anytime, and I have been talking about it. It was just, I just feel really lucky to have had a couple of opportunities to talk about it with Gregory and with Ismaila.
If any of you authors out there need me for a book launch, I can be hired real cheap.
He can be hired real cheap. And also, he's also happy to lend his face. Those Zoom recordings, and for anybody who would like him to fill a box in the Zoom meetings, we can make a donation to the charity of your choice. I don't know, I guess I'm just riffing here. So
or if somebody wants to buy me some guitar lessons, that's good too.
So here we are. This is the end of the launch. I just got to say a few final thank you before we go. Oh, we're already around at the end of time, so I'm just going to say really quick. Thank you to editor Katerina DeBacker at Great Plains, my agents, Chris Rothstein and Carolson Swayze of the Swayze Agency. Thank you guys for tuning in and for being so supportive and just for being you. Honestly, this is amazing. Thank you to McNally Robinson and Indigo and others who are still making books available. Thank you to my writing community. You know who you are. A few of the names that were borrowed in this book: Bob Boyer, Mary Franz, Heather Gobbett, Rick and Jimmy, Olie, Newt Gvalik, Noah Danby, Darcy. All of them, I mentioned you all and more in the back of the book. It's just, I like using names of friends. I think we're at the end here. So I just want to say thank you all for joining us. I wish you're not allowed to drink. I wish that no, you're not allowed to drink, but we can toast.
But it's just Kool-Aid.
It's just purple Kool-Aid. That's true. But I'm not going to choke on this purple Kool-Aid. So thank you guys all for joining us.
No.
Thank you. If you get a chance to read this book, please do. I'm happy to sign it for you. Thank you for keeping me company during this launch. It's been really fun. Any final words, Mr. Daher?
Hold this for a sec. Just reminding everybody that the Grand Ole Opry has sinned. They need to reinstate Hank Williams. Thank you much.
Okay, thank you for that, James. I need to figure out how to end all this now, so thank you.
Toodles. You got to close like 14 different platforms.
So we're still closing.
Toodles. Why should you just close everything?
I suppose I could do that.
Just.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
It's been very fun.